tonight. A man living in Regina is one of the victims in Thursday's Air India crash. We catch up with the owner of an iconic Ronge business that burned to the ground. And a major legal update on information contained in a controversial Regina Instagram account.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Friday, June 13th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. A Regina man is believed to be among the dead in the Air India plane crash that killed at least 240 people on Thursday, and his family is now making their way to India to identify his body. Piyush Kumar Patel was a permanent resident who lived in Regina with his wife and two little girls. He was in India visiting his parents. CBC News spoke to his sister Friday. She says her parents confirmed he was on the plane. The Boeing Dreamliner bound for London crashed shortly after takeoff.
Actually, I know that he was going to London, and then I read the news that the flight got crashed. I just called my mother to check it. I just asked casually that what about this flight? So my mother just said he is on the flight, and your father and other people from our village are already there. That's how we know it.
Investigators now have the flight data recorder from the scene. The fiery explosion left many victims unrecognizable. Only a small number of bodies have been returned to their families so they can begin grieving. The rest need DNA tests in order to be identified. Patel's family loaded a plane to India Friday afternoon and hope to help officials identify his body. Premier Scott Moe this week reiterated his claim that the Ditch 2 fire near Weyakwan was started by an arsonist, even though RCMP have not confirmed that. RCMP charged 2 people last week with setting fires in the north, but it's not clear if they led to larger fires. A spokesperson for the province told CBC Friday that there was, quote, some confusion regarding the ditch fire and a fire set in a ditch. Meanwhile, some experts say part of the reason fires this season have been so fierce is because of climate change driven by burning of fossil fuels. But Moe was quick to defend the fossil fuel industry Friday.
When it comes to what Saskatchewan is producing from a carbon perspective, we should produce more of it. And we should displace much dirtier products in other areas of the world that are having a much larger impact on climate change than what Saskatchewan products are. All the while, I agree with you, we need to be making every effort to reduce the carbon content of what we are producing in Saskatchewan.
The SPSA says 10,000 people have now been cleared to return home. That now includes people from Narrow Hills Provincial Park and Ramsey Bay. The voluntary evacuation order in Candle Lake has also been lifted. That leaves just 5 communities under an evacuation order. The province has also lifted its ban on ATVs and UTVs, but the provincial fire ban is still in place. Evacuees from the Ronge area are some of those 10,000 people who are now back home. Some, however, don't have homes to go back to, as about 24 of them burned in the fires. Businesses were also affected, with many mourning the loss of the iconic Robertson Trading. Our Jeremy Warren was in Ronge as its owner surveyed the damage.
I feel loss, I feel regret, I feel anger, I feel pain. I feel it all.
Scott Robertson isn't sure what comes next. This is all that remains of his family's store, an institution of northern Saskatchewan. Robertson Trading housed a one-of-a-kind collection featuring Indigenous art and history. Now it's gone. A casualty of the unprecedented wildfire season, it burned to the ground along with the hardware store next door.
I think the legacy just went up in smoke. I can't imagine how you would replace this or duplicate this. This is a half a century of collecting Aboriginal artwork and beadwork.
Not everything from the collection was destroyed. Robertson lent Lac La Ronge Indian Band Chief Tammy Cook Searson a piece for her first campaign.
I went to see Tammy the other day, trying to get on the list to get back into town if I went south. And she told me that she still had a beaded moose eye jacket that we had lent her 20 years ago. And I said to her at the time, I said, you know, Tammy, I gift that jacket to you. It's the only one of our entire collection to have survived, and the only reason it survived is because you had it.
The store officially closed just over a year ago, but occasionally reopened to supply outfitters and tourists.
I clearly did not give enough of it away. I mean, we hoarded all the good stuff, hoping that someday there would be a home for this stuff to be on display. Northern Saskatchewan has interesting history, the history of the interaction of Indigenous peoples and the fur trade, very colorful Canadian history.
A collection of beaded moccasins was stored in a large metal safe. Robertson hasn't combed through the rubble yet to check for it. Something to hold on to, perhaps buried under the ashes. Jeremy Warren, CBC News, Ronge.
While many evacuees are now home, others are still waiting, and some are frustrated as they wait. Shyla Evans had to leave her home in Creighton late last month and is now staying in Melfort. Evans told the 306's Peter Mills that she's received little to no access to information and government supports.
It has not gone well. No one that I know from Creighton has received any funding at all from either the SPSA or the Red Cross. And it's kind of ironic because today in Melfort, they are announcing all day that there is a Saskatchewan Red Cross fundraiser for the victims of the Saskatchewan evacuation. And my aunt from Creighton was told that she had to get funding through the SPSA. She wound up in Swan River. And when she phoned the SPSA, they told her that she has to go to one of 4 places in Saskatchewan to be able to receive funding. But we wound up in provinces from Saskatchewan to Manitoba to Ontario. There are even some of us in Niagara Falls right now. So we're all over the place. And a lot of people that I know wound up sleeping in their vehicles with their pets because you would go to the next community and it was already full. So it was a lot.
Legal battles continue over an Instagram account that shared anonymous stories of sexual violence and harassment in Regina. And as Alexander Kwan reports, one researcher thinks defamation lawsuits are increasingly being used as a tool to silence those who speak out about their experiences.
SaskTel has been ordered to identify the people who ran an anonymous Instagram account that shared the stories of sexual violence carried out by men in Regina. In 2020, the Instagram account Victims Voices Regina began posting the anonymous stories shared with them. Many named high-profile men like a musician and a city councillor. 5 years later, lawsuits over those posts are still in court. All are defamation suits that say men had their reputations harmed by false accusations. One researcher says more and more of these lawsuits are popping up in Canada, and they're silencing the alleged victims of sexual violence.
Even just the mere threat of a defamation lawsuit can often be enough to shut people down from coming forward and reporting, but also just talking about sexual violence more generally.
CBC is aware of at least 3 lawsuits filed against the women who operated the Victims Voices Regina Instagram account. Some men are seeking up to $1 million in damages. One of the most recent developments is coming out of a lawsuit filed by Ryan Bolt. Back in 2020, the account published the story of a woman who alleged Bolt had sexually harassed her at work. Bolt is trying to serve that woman and the people behind the account, but he doesn't know who they are. He needs SaskTel to hand over documents that would identify them. A lower court judge said SaskTel wouldn't have to do that, but that judge's decision has now been overturned by the Court of Appeal. The law firm representing Bolt declined to comment. It's not clear exactly how many lawsuits were filed in response to the Victims Voices Regina account, but the threat of lawsuits did result in the page being shut down. CBC interviewed one of the 2 women behind the Instagram page in 2020, and she said they made no attempts at verifying information in their posts. Some legal experts say publishing unverified allegations on social media can be high risk because ultimately people will have to prove their truth in court with evidence.
Defamation lawsuits are very expensive and time consuming. And so it is a real consideration that has an impact of chilling on whether people decide to report or even seek out services. I also want to remind people it's like doesn't give you the ability to go on social media and make claims. Like you still have to defend yourself.
And SaskTel wouldn't tell us whether they plan to appeal. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
The federal government has ordered a vote to let postal workers judge their latest contract offer for themselves. The Canadian Union of Postal Workers calls it an attack on collective bargaining. It's asking its 55,000 members to vote no and push for binding arbitration. Canada Post said it welcomes workers having a voice. Well, how about an escape to a beautiful field of flowers right in the heart of Saskatoon? The flower pots are in full bloom along the sidewalks and medians, adding a nice little pop of color to the urban landscape. Those plants likely need a drink of water, though. Helena Mahalik will be by to tell us if there's any rain in the forecast when we come back. Stay with us. Iran has launched dozens of missiles at targets in Israel. It's in retaliation for Israel's biggest ever military attack against Iran. And it comes after Israeli airstrikes hit key nuclear facilities in Iran and killed some of the country's top military leaders. Chris Brown reports.
Missiles streaked over Tel Aviv Friday, and some Iranian projectiles appeared to breach Israel's air defenses, hitting buildings in a dramatic escalation. Israel had appeared in control all day, attacking Iranian military sites, including the residences of its nuclear scientists, killing them and their families. The Zionist regime made a grave mistake. It acted wrongly, and by God's will, the consequences will bring it to ruin, said Supreme Ruler Ali Khamenei.
More is on the way. The regime doesn't know what hit them. They don't know what will hit them.
Israel's prime minister said the planning took 6 months. Its intelligence services released a rare video of what it said were Mossad agents inside Iran taking out air defenses. In Tehran, people mourned the stunning assassinations of so many top military leaders. The dead included the chief of the armed forces and the head of the Revolutionary Guard. Protesters accused the U.S. and Western countries of betraying Iran for using weeks of what they said were sham nuclear talks to help Israel prepare.
What Israel strategic aims, are not just to destroy Iran's nuclear program, but basically regime change in Iran itself. And that's why I think Iran faces an existential moment.
Israel's strikes included extensive damage to the Natanz facility used by Iran to enrich uranium that could have been potentially used to build a nuclear weapon. The UN's nuclear watchdog expressed alarm.
Nuclear facilities must never be attacked, regardless of the context or circumstances.
In Tel Aviv, a high-rise apartment building was gutted, with reports of wounded, along with other buildings hit and damaged in the suburbs. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
About 200 Marines have moved into Los Angeles to protect federal property. They were deployed by U.S. President Donald Trump, who says they're needed to stop rioters. Protests started last week over Trump's crackdown on undocumented migrants. The Marines are in addition to thousands of National Guard troops. Meanwhile, preparations are underway in Washington for a parade Saturday celebrating the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. The celebration coincides with President Trump's 79th birthday. Large so-called No Kings demonstrations are expected across the country at the same time to protest against Trump's authoritarian leadership style. And weather specialist Helena Mahalik joining us now, and it seems we have some severe weather on our hands, Helena.
Yes, Ethan, we're watching a severe weather situation in the southwestern part of the province. Let's take a look at just what is going on in that area. If you are watching us live on Friday at 6:15 p.m., there is a tornado warning for the RMs of Winslow and Oakdale. If you live in these areas, you are requested to shelter immediately, preferably in a basement. This is along with a thunderstorm in the area that can produce quarter to toonie-sized hail, winds at up to 90 kilometers an hour, and strong rain. We are seeing rain throughout much of the province this evening, and that is continuing into Saturday as well. The areas around in the southwest around Swift Current will continue to see rain into Saturday, as well as for areas in the north, in the Churchill region. They could get anywhere from 5 to 10 millimeters of rainfall Saturday. And the rain definitely isn't stopping as the weekend continues. We're seeing that rainfall continue Saturday and into Sunday for areas in the south as well as for the north in the Ronge area. As we get into Monday, we're going to see that rain continue, and that's going to be around central areas with the risk of a thunderstorm as well. So just how much rain are we going to get this weekend? Areas around Moose Jaw may get the most of that rain with close to 30 millimeters of rainfall, but Regina will only get around 5. The Saskatoon area will get around 15 millimeters of rain. We will see a lot of rainfall as well for the north, which is definitely good for those wildfires. We're seeing close to 25 millimeters of rainfall for areas like La Ronge and Pelican Narrows. This will definitely help with the smoke situation. We're seeing things improve, especially in southern Saskatchewan and in the north as well. There are some pockets of clear air, especially in the Churchill region, which will probably continue to improve as the weekend goes on with all of that rainfall. Winds right now in the province are gusting close to 30 to 40 kilometers an hour, especially in southern Saskatchewan, where thunderstorms continue. However, the rest of the weekend, we're really seeing those winds die down. Saturday, we may see 30 kilometers an hour wind conditions, but the rest of the weekend into Sunday, we're really seeing those winds die down. Temperatures will be feeling quite warm. However, with that rainfall, things may be feeling just a little bit cooler. Temperatures hovering around 25 degrees Saturday and Sunday, but with that rain, things might be feeling just a little bit cooler, Ethan.
Yeah, definitely with all that smoke, we've been forgetting about the severe weather as well. Helena, thanks so much for keeping us advised.
Thanks, Ethan.
Well, it is a big, bulky, and definitely expensive piece of high tech, but it's helping clients with spinal injuries get back on their feet. That includes a survivor of the Humboldt Broncos bus crash, who's now an advocate for people with disabilities. Dave Gilson reports.
Synaptic Neurorehabilitation Center here in Calgary is showcasing what it calls a cutting-edge neurorehabilitation technology for its clients after acquiring a new robotic exoskeleton. The charitable organization says it enables spinal cord injury and neurorehabilitation clients to stand and walk with robotic support. Clients include Humboldt Broncos bus crash survivor Ryan Strasnitsky. The crash left him paralyzed from the waist down. The ExoMotion Robotics exoskeleton fits around his legs and lower back and is tethered to a ceiling track.
I mean, it's incredible to do anything like hands-free, getting to hold a hockey stick, throw a football, brought back a lot of memories and made me really hopeful for the future to see where this exoskeleton can go.
Synaptic says they're implementing it into active treatment and adds it's a way to make advanced rehabilitation tools accessible to the community.
It is going to bring so many more opportunities for people who didn't have it before. So the level of support and guidance that it's able to provide and how it's going to be integrated into therapy, the amount of standing, stepping, and walking that we're able to actually implement into practice will really help wire that neuroplastic change for us to give them the opportunity to look at, independence mobility again.
She calls it a collaborative effort and says they were able to obtain the roughly $340,000 exoskeleton from Human in Motion Robotics thanks to donations. Dave Gilson, CBC News, Calgary.
This is more than a transaction. It's really about the fulfillment of a dream.
The Regina Red Sox Baseball Club is becoming a business venture. Queen City Sports and Entertainment Group has acquired the baseball franchise. The team had operated as a not-for-profit, but the new owners say that model was hurting the Red Sox ability to compete in the Western Canadian Baseball League. Queen City Sports and Entertainment also owns the Regina Pats, and it says it's ready to invest in a new stadium something that's been under consideration by the city of Regina for years. The deal is pending league approval and would take effect in October if approved. Stay with us. We have another look at the news and a final look at your forecast after the break. The Riders are less than 24 hours away from hitting the field against the Hamilton Ticats in their second game of the regular season. Three Down Nation's Joel Gasson joined the morning edition to tee up Saturday's matchup.
I think the Hamilton Ticats, even though it's week 2, is a very important game for them to sort of let the pressure out of the room a little bit, perhaps, because I don't think in that Eastern Division, which we expect to be competitive, that they can afford to start, 1-8, 1-7 again, like they have in previous years. So if there's anything in that room, and if they're, if they are the team they think they are, I think this is a week they're going to have to bring it, and they're going to have to be as good as they think they are. I think there's, like Ottawa, there's questions about that defense. So scoring could be, optimal again in this game, which is always fun for us watching on the other side. No offense to defensive football, but the general masses prefer points being scored. Yes. So, I think we could definitely be seeing that happening again. But, Hamilton's always a tough place for this team to go to. Historically, no matter how the Hamilton Ticats have done, everyone knows the year the Hamilton Ticats won 2 games, and one of them was against the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Yes.
So, anything's possible when the Riders go into that building for some reason.
And Helena's back to tell us if we're in for more storms this weekend.
Yes, Ethan, we definitely are. The entire province is in for some rainfall. Let's take a look at the conditions for the city of Regina. This weekend, Saturday, the Pride Parade may have some rain for it, and we are seeing temperatures, though, that are still feeling quite hot and just a little bit above seasonal for this time of year. The rain is going to continue throughout the week. We might have a day without rain, but throughout the rest of the work week, we're going to see that continue. But temperatures will be at or just above seasonal for this time of year, maybe a little bit of a breeze as well, and overnight lows will also be above seasonal for this time of year. Saskatoon is also going to be experiencing a lot of rain. When it rains, it pours. We're seeing a chance of thunderstorms throughout the weekend in Saskatoon, but temperatures still feeling a little bit warmer. Again, we might have a day or two without rain, but throughout the rest of the week, we're going to see that rain continue, but the sun is still going to be out. Overnight lows will be above seasonal, though, but Ethan, we're seeing a lot of rain in the forecast everywhere in the province, but we know the moisture is definitely needed right now.
Yeah, absolutely is. And Helena, a whirlwind for you this week with the weather. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, you too, Ethan.
And that is it for us this week. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks for watching. You have a good weekend too.